For Creamer Media's Polity, I'm Sane Dlamini, researcher and analyst. Professor Raymond Suttner joins me for Suttner's View, a weekly commentary on South Africa's political scene. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you.
We have repeatedly referred to problems in state and state-owned institutions. What do you think now of the parting of the ways between Eskom CEO, Tsediso Matona, and the power utility?
Yeah, you know, what I think is different about other state institutions and state-owned institutions to which I've referred is that I think there is not a political reason behind the dismissal or the removal of Matona. It just shows a sort of element of disarray in governance, that a man who has got 20 years experience, or probably more or less 20 years experience in the civil service, who's got quite a good record, is appointed to a top position for 6 months, and then he's suspended. The suspension, they first said, is not a suspension. He's just stepping aside so that there can be some investigation. And then when he went to the Labour Court, they admitted it was a suspension, and they have not shown that he's done anything wrong. And the Labour Court judge actually said that Eskom was dishonest in not giving the true reasons for this. And this man then is suspended. The Labour Court couldn't make a decision, and he was going to the CCMA, and instead they've made some deal. Now, what I find is especially problematic about this is that the problem of power is very serious in this country. It's probably one of the most serious problems that South Africa confronts at the moment, because not having certainty about power affects everything. It affects industry, but it also affects healthcare. Suddenly there's a break in power in hospitals, or hospitals have to engage in extensive expenses to get generators. There's a problem if you take the Gauteng e-learning project with the tablets. Presumably, if there's a power outage, the signal breaks. And a whole project of e-learning may be interrupted because at certain hours they will not be able to proceed, or learners will not be able to proceed. You can go back into all sorts of things, like at the home, that you're going back to the old days where people have to study by candlelight, and candlelight is dangerous. Even in some of the wealthier areas, you have houses being burnt down because a candle falls over. So that in the poorer areas, where they're more likely to have material that can catch a light, it creates a danger. So I find it rather shocking that, first of all, you have a sort of a tension apparently between the former chair, who's now been removed, Zola Tsotsi, and Matona, because the chair of Eskom had been trying to build a sort of, although he was a non-executive chair, he was trying to build a sort of job for himself out of being a non-executive chair, and he is said to have got 1.7 million last year. Now, when you're a non-executive chair, to bring home 1.7 million is a tremendous amount. Now, when he was removed, they brought in Ben Ngubane, who is a friend of Zuma, who's close to Zuma's, and Ngubane has not got a good record of governance from his days in the SABC. So it is not clear that he can manage that job. He's an acting chair, and who knows whether he will be or will not be. So my sense is that the fact that I have no reason to question the abilities of Brian Molefe, who seems to be designated as CEO. It may be that he can make some difference, but we're dealing with a very, very serious problem, which has set back the growth rate, the projected growth rate for South Africa. And to have this instability, I've never heard of a DG against whom nothing has been raised, being removed from office or CEO after 6 months. It's just unheard of. Now you have, in the same week, the situation. Now this is different from Matona. The NPA, National Prosecuting Authority, is a politicized matter. And there was an inquiry scheduled into the suitability of Mxolisi Nkosana, and just as it was about to start, the man who was conducting the inquiry said he had received a phone call 4 o'clock in the morning saying that he must cancel it because they were going to work out something with Nkosana. Now, the problem with this is that who heads the NPA has a lot of significance in relation to the possible reinstitution of charges against President Zuma. And that may have been why his first appointment, Menzies Simelane, was found by the court to be unfit for office. And the acting director before Nkosana was appointed in his place, Advocate Jiba, stalled for months and months and did a number of things that were found by the court to be fraudulent, to be perjury. And she and some others are facing charges and possible removal from the role of advocates. Now, Nkosana has apparently said that he will only go if she and Mqebi also go. He was involved in blocking the charges over Ndluli. So there's a lot of political things involved in this, but the Minister of Justice says there's complete disarray in the NPA. We need to ask, why is this disarray? And my answer would be, it's to do with political interference, as there is in SARS, in the Hawks, in the South African Police Services itself, and that is the source of the disarray.
And what can be done to halt this light?
You see, when you have a government that is showing that is contemptuous of legality and is prepared to undermine the independence of important state institutions, I don't say they've done that with Eskom, they just messed up on Eskom, but with the NPA, the Hawks, and a number of others, they've actually interfered for reasons that are political. When that is the case, we have to ask ourselves what citizens can do. Now, someone like myself, I'm just a private individual. COSATU is in disarray. SACP is more or less absorbed into the ANC, and everything that government does, it is complicit in. However, business has power. And I wonder why it is that business does not have its voice heard. Business has the capacity to say to government, we cannot do business adequately. And it's true, when there is this level of instability in state institutions. So I would like to ask why business does not play more of a role in trying to restore constitutionalism, to restore respect for the independence of important institutions such as the prosecuting authority, the Hawks, and others. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Creamer Media's Polity about the continued disarray in state institutions.